Okay, welcome to Bitrix Live. I'm Damien Edwards from Bitrix Partners Interface, and with me I've got our support manager Andy Naylor.
Hi guys, so we're here for the next hour,
Bitrix Partners.
And through the hour we can answer any questions that you may have on Bitrix, and we can show you the answers to those questions on the screen here. So we can if you want to send your questions in using the question box next to the video on YouTube, you can tweet us at Interface, and you can also email us to live@interface.com. So if you've got any questions as well throughout the week, you can send them to that email address, live@interface.com, and we can answer them on next week's session if you have them through the week. So we're here every Thursday at 10 AM Eastern Time.
Okay, so we had a question in on email. Questioners created a business process which runs on a company record. Essentially they want to be able to create a project from a company in the CRM. So the business process presents the user with a form, and they can complete some information which sets the work group up, which they've managed to do successfully. They've also managed to create a series of tasks successfully generated from the business process. The problem they've got is, and the question we have is, can the tasks be automatically added to the work group I've created? So it looks like the business process creates the work group, it creates the tasks. Is it possible then for the task to automatically add into that work group that's just been created from the business process?
Okay, so let's jump into Bitrix here and go into the CRM. And if we go into the settings and then automation and then business processes, so this is a location where we can create the business processes for any one of these elements. So let's just go to templates, and we want to add a new template. So was the question in this question, was it the fact that they're going to manually run the process?
So they want to they want to run it from a company record. So I think it's probably run manually as and when maybe they win a project or something, they want to create a new group. So I think they've got as far as creating the work group and creating some tasks, but the tasks are not sitting inside the work group.
So what I've done here is give it a title. So that's what in the drop down menu, that's what's going to show here. Then I've deselected when added, and I've also deselected when changed, and that will allow us to manually trigger this particular process off. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to provide some parameters, and parameters in a business process are basically the form fields that get submitted. So you mentioned that they're going to create a series of tasks. So if we said task name 1, give it a unique ID, and we said task name 1 as a text. So this is the form label. We're going to give it it's going to be a string. So a string is it can be a field containing letters, numbers, spaces, characters. So that is important we have that. So that's the first form field. The second form field we'll have is task 1 description. So put some task 1 description. So we'll create in this process, we'll create 2. And what we're going to do is going to create a text field. So that will allow us to put the task description into that particular text field. Click on OK. So we have two form fields at the moment. We'll just do 2 tasks. So again, we'll go task name 2. And again, we'll give that a string. And then finally, we'll add task 2 description. And we'll give it a form label task 2 description. And we'll give that a text. So in Bitrix, in the business process and the fields, you can have access to a whole range of different field types there. So we may want, should we put somebody maybe that's responsible for these tasks in? Or
yeah, probably assign a project manager or something like that.
So we'll say project manager, Again, this has to be unique, the ID, so we'll say project manager, and then we can bind to user. And what that will allow us to do, it will allow us to search for all the available users who are your employees on that particular field. Click on OK. So we'll have that at the bottom. In fact, we'll move it to the top. So this is your form that we're going to fill out when we manually trigger this business process. So the question was about creating a work group. So Bitrix has a standard work block for creating a work group. This is possible to do on both the cloud and the self-hosted. So we can say, just give it name, create project.
Is this part new? This looks new to me. This department. So I think you can add a whole department into a into a task now.
Into a work group.
Into a group.
Yeah. So we didn't give it. We haven't got a form field project name. It may be that you want that, but what we'll do is we'll have what I've done there. I'll just go back into what I did there. So on the right hand side of the field, there's these three dots. Click onto these three dots, and on element fields, we can get access to any of the fields that exist inside a company, because this is what we're going to be triggering this business process on. So we'll say company name, project. The group owner, what we'll do is we'll click into template parameters, and we'll select the project manager. So that's who we're going to select in the form itself, and then we'll add some members manually. So we'll add Jim White, Mark Black, and we'll add Claire Smith as well. And we can make this a target site, so we can make this a work group for your intranet, or we can also make it for your extranet as well. So let's make it just a normal work group on here.
So that's a bit confusing then. So this is actually intranet and extranet sites. They're treated as separate sites. And both, in our case, they're both called demo. But so which one's the intranet?
So the S1 is always going to be your intranet, and your CO, in our case, we're on the self-hosted here, is the extranet.
Might be different on the cloud.
Yeah. So what we want to do now is get to the point where the question raised is, how do we then create the tasks and assign them to this particular work group? So what we can do here is get to the task, drag into the task, and we can give it task 1. Task name, what we can do is we can bring in the template parameters, and we'll task name 1. Create the task as the project manager, and we'll include the project manager as the person responsible for this particular task. And what we can do in here, task description, is we have task 1 description. So let's insert it. So the point of where we want to assign this now to the work group that is being created in this business process is on the social network group. If we just click on these three dots here,
so you can select any defaults any work group that already exists by default. We don't want to do that, do we? So essentially the work group doesn't exist yet, really, does it?
No, so we haven't run this process, so it doesn't exist. So we just need to click on the three dots here, and then click on additional results. And what that will give us is the elements that have been created in this particular process. So you can see here, create project work group. What we need is the group ID. And that will essentially assign this task into the work group that's created in this business process. So we usually take off the task requires to be approved. So that's task 1, and then we do exactly the same for task 2, except we're going to use different parameters. Task 2 name, again we'll include the project manager as the creator, and task 2, and then we'll just give it a description, task 2 description, and then again we'll go into social group, click into the parameters, and you can see group ID. See, there is a plugin on the self-hosted if you ever wanted to create a head task and subtasks, and it gives you an extra field on your task creator here, and it basically allows you to, as you can see where it says task 1, you then can have the task ID to define which one is going to be the head task. So So you can create head tasks and subtasks.
So it's a bit confusing about which of these links to go into, isn't it? Really, essentially, they all do different things. They all have different things sat within them. But yeah, these are the parameters that you created, aren't they, at the beginning?
Yeah, they certainly are. And you can define variables throughout business process. You can define constants in the same place we defined parameters. Element fields are the fields inside the company.
Fields of the company, yeah.
And additional results are the ones that have been created in the process itself. So if you click on that, click on save. So that's all we'll do for the moment. There's obviously a lot of other things you could do. I mean, you mentioned about assigning the task to the work group. What you probably could do is, if you created a folder, you can do exactly the same thing. So if we said social network group drive, and instead of selecting a predefined one, we could then select the 3 dots, click on additional results, and click on group ID. So therefore, you could trigger this process. So let's maybe do this and just say, I don't know, let's create that particular folder on the drive of this particular work group. So you can then set up a folder structure. You can put in documents in. So we click on save. And now what we want to do is go to the companies and let's create one for TechCo. So you can see here we're inside a company, and on the top right hand corner you'll see this little run workflow, and you can see, I believe it's going to be create project at the bottom here, which it is. So where we define those parameters, it's now got a pop-up form, and we can select the manager. So I'm logged in as John Smith on our site, so we'll select ourselves, and then we'll say maybe this is a website design project. Design. And then let's just say we can put some text in there. And then again we can say logo design.
So you've got one form. This is going to create a whole project, but it's asking you for some additional information. So the quickest way to create a project in a nice sort of structured manner.
Yeah, and we're doing this inside a company. We've done this inside deals. We've had this automatically trigger on the automation inside a deal. When it hits the last one stage, it can trigger this particular process off. So we click on start. So you can see here, workflow create project is started, workflow create project has been completed.
You could have added a notification in there as well, couldn't you, so that we get a pop-up, links us through to, could have added approval in there as well, so that the manager was asked if they want to join that project. But yeah, all sorts of other additional things you could add to that process, but wasn't part of the question.
So you can see if we go to TechCo, I think, is it TechCo? We shouldn't have used TechCo.
Not that one. Not too sure. Is it?
Oh, TechCo project.
Yeah.
There we go. So you can see here, John Smith is the project owner, John Smith, and then we added a couple of other people as well. So the tasks, we go into the tasks. You can see, again, we put these details in the form, website design, logo design, go into website design, please carry out invest. So you can see how you can build this up, and then I added the final create a drive folder, so this should say TechCo files, and again it does. So using that additional results field in the business process basically allows you to assign folders, assign tasks to work groups that you create in the actual project itself.
Sometimes what I like to do is remove some of these as part of the process. I don't know whether that is actually possible or not. If we go into the CRM, go into the CRM. Do you know if that's possible as part of the create work group? Should we have a quick look?
So it's not possible in
It's not
possible in the standard create work group block, so that you get with the cloud and the self-hosted. We have done a business process before, where in the self-hosted version, where we have a PHP block after the project creation, and we've destabled some of the features.
So there's no settings within there that allows you to specify those features, but you could do that on the self-hosted.
And another thing you could do with the self-hosted that we've done before as well is, if for example you had an email after, and what you can do is basically create an extranet user, the block before, send an email out with their credentials to log in with, and so the whole process is automatic. So if you're creating a project from a company or a deal, it hits that last point or you manually run it, then it's going to add your client into the project group, send them the credentials to log in, and then work on that particular task.
Okay. Okay. I've got a question here about how I can see activity, pending activity on the CRM. So this person wants to be able to see up and coming calls and meetings for a particular user. So that's fairly straightforward. Go to the activities tab, leave that, and go to the list view. Then, if we have a default filter here, my current activities. So default filter is not completed and responsible responsible for this user. Let's put it responsible John Smith. And search. So we can see in this filter view every single activity which is not yet complete. Now, what I probably want to do is look at something like deadline. We've got a start date here, so we probably want to look at start date, or let's just tidy up this view. There's too many in that view there. Take out start, take out end. We don't need created on, apply that. So we've got a deadline here. Let's have a look at the, I can see everything, but I want to see those that have the oldest deadline. So I can filter, or I can order by this particular field at the top. So here we go, some from 2707, 18. So I probably want to work on these oldest ones first. So these are all my activities. If I go down to the bottom, I can see that there's 50 outstanding. Whatever they are, mostly calls, outgoing calls, but you would see activities for meetings as well in here. I think you also see activities for tasks if you've got certain tasks you need to complete. So you can do that. This grid view can be customized like this. We can change the layout very easily. So if I wanted to then specify a particular date, let's have. I'm using deadline, so let's look at deadline date. So probably what we want to do is specify a deadline date which is this week, and I'm guessing there's probably not going to be anything in there. There's quite a few. So now I'm looking at a filter of all activities that are not complete, those that are just responsible for myself, and those which have a deadline of this week. So you can narrow that down to the current day or current week, and then just work on that activity like that.
I think we have quite a lot of clients, don't we, that basically obviously work heavily inside the CRM, and in the start of their working day they would come to their activities and, like Damien showed you, do the filter. But one thing that Damien didn't just show is that what we could do is, if it's say for example you want to see all your outgoing calls that are scheduled for today, so let's just say current day. I'm not sure this will bring up anything, but what we can do on the left hand side is we can save a filter and just say today's calls, and then click on save. And at the moment it's not bringing up anything because the data's not in there, but so they would click on activities at the start of the day, come in here, simply click on today's calls, and it would list all their today's calls, and you can click through, work on them, leave notes, finish them, and if it's assigned to a company or a contact or a lead or a deal, then that saving that and finishing that activity will be stored against the activity stream on that particular CRM item.
Okay, got a question here about could you do an example of state-driven process where two separate officers are preparing two documents for approval, which will be combined to one, which will be later combined to one document. So I'm not sure about the last part, later to combine to one document. I'm not sure how you would use that. I'm assuming these are actual Word documents or something like that that they're creating. Can you do a similar example of a state-driven process where two separate officers are preparing two documents for approval? And then previous to that, you'd asked, could a state-driven process run with two or more states? So you can, I'm not sure you can run with two or more states at the same time, depending on what you're running it on, but a state-driven process is triggered when something achieves a certain state. So whether it could be in two states at the same time, run two processes at the same time, I guess it can't. We got one of these on documents, I think, probably.
I think if we go into a work group, we've got. Let's just make sure these are activated, and we'll install the ones that exist already. So for those of you that don't know, you can run business processes on documents, and if we click on create, it installs the some sample business processes for documents. So if we click on approve documents with states, then this is one example that Bitrix comes with.
So based on the state that the document's in, whether it's draft, approve or publish, it will trigger the process that sits within each of these here. I'm not too sure what you're trying to achieve there. You want to run two separate officers are preparing two documents for approval, which will later be combined to one document. So each, this process here is triggered when we're at approval state, and when we get to a separate state, then it triggers a separate process. To elaborate, a particular state would be triggered when a document may need to be revised. Which one is in the approved state? Well, one is in the approved state.
I think, I'm not sure if you can put two documents into one. I think they'd be separately run, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
This state-driven process will be triggered and run on one document, and then on the other document it will also be triggered and run. So they'll be run separately. They won't be running together.
Yeah, you can. We're running a process on a document here, so it's not possible to run a process on a folder of documents. Really, I mean, you could run a process separately that with two fields where you upload the documents to a field. That's probably not a state-driven process, but you could certainly do something like that and ask for approval on those documents. But how you would then merge them into one document? I mean, if you wanted to go into the activity stream and create a process in here, let's have a quick look. Create new workflow. Document approval, and save that. So you could add in, customize your fields that are going to be available in this workflow. Add a field called doc1. Make sure that is a file field and save it. And let's add a field called doc2. Again, file field and save it. And we could go back and then we could configure the workflow. So in this workflow, we could run an approval process. So approval element. So you could run an approval process on those uploaded documents, and you could have a notification, for whether it's approved or not approved. So this would present you with a form ask you to upload the documents. I'll probably not complete all of this, and then you can assign those to a group of people that you need to assign it to. In here, you would set that you would assign to people that need to assign it, people that need to approve it up here, and they would receive a link to those 2 documents that were uploaded. But not too sure about how you would do that, sort of like in the way you want to do it to merge them. But maybe we could get in touch afterwards and we could discuss exact requirements in a bit more detail.
So I've got another question come through. I've created a business process for a work group drive. How can I get this process for other work group folders? Now, if you want to use, I think that you want to use a business process that you've created in one work group drive and use it in another work group drive, then it's pretty straightforward. If we just go to a particular work group, let's just go into the one that we've just created and click into Drive. Then let's just switch the business processes on and click on business processes. What I'm going to do, I'll create a sequential business process. So we'll just call this call it Bitrix Live, and we'll have it. You can have it whatever you trigger, and we'll just add a quick. Let's just add a notification just to show you as an example. So sender John Smith. We have to fill this in, otherwise it will tell us that this will be empty. And then click on Save. So what you can do now is click on the export at the top. Oh, hold on, we have to save it. Click on Export. So that's exported a file. So this is Bitrix file for business processes. So we have that here. Then, so we were in the work group we just created, so TechCo. Now if I click into Information Technology, go into this particular drive, and again, click into Business Processes. You're going to still have to create one. So you click into Create. You can call it, again, whatever you want to call it, Bitrix24 Live. Click on Save, and that's all you would ever need to create. Click on Import. Just to be aware that if you do import a process into an existing process, it will wipe the existing process out. It will override what is there at the moment. Click on Choose, click on the process, and click on Import. And there you have it. It's as simple as that really to migrate, and then you click on Save and it will be available in this drive. So you can use that process exporting and importing from drive to drive in any work group that you created.
We get asked quite a bit to, as part, we showed you a process where you filled a format and you created a work group. We get asked if a series of 1 or 2 business processes can be automatically applied to those new work groups. That can be done on the self-hosted. So if you wanted, if you didn't want to have to do that each time you create a group, you could, if you had the self-hosted edition, you can, do a bit more to create those processes automatically every time a work group's created. Okay. Can I view and edit documents in Bitrix? Don't think we've got. It's completely set up. Let's have a look. So, depending on what you're looking at, you can preview documents. If I want to open a PDF, then I can preview that as well in here. If I wanted to preview a Word document or open a Word document or a spreadsheet or something, you wouldn't be able to do that inside Bitrix without using an external tool such as your local copy of Microsoft or a web web document editor tool such as Microsoft or Google Docs or something similar. So you choose how am I going to manage those documents? Am I going to use that application based on my local machine or one that's based in the cloud, as it says here, such as Google Docs or Microsoft Office?
I think an important thing to note with the locally is you would need to download Bitrix desktop application if you want to do it locally.
Yeah. So you would have to have the desktop application downloaded. You'd have to be logged in to the desktop application, and that essentially syncs documents from your Bitrix instance to a local folder. It allows you to then, when you click in a document inside Bitrix, if I was to click into okay, so it's saying there we need to install the desktop application. So that means that when I go into, see if we've got any files inside any of these. So I've got some Word documents in here. If I try and open that Word document, just going to do it because I'm not logged into a Google account. But if I had the desktop application open, when I click on the document itself, it actually opens the local version of that document and allows me to edit it with my local copy of Word installed on my local machine. So it's not opening the web version, it's opening the local one, but the local one is synced with the web version, so it's the latest version of that document. When you click save on that document, it syncs any changes back into Bitrix. So there's a bit of a process going on there, but yeah, I mean that's possible. The alternative, of course, is just to download this document and then reopen it. It's actually quicker if you do it through using the desktop application. So essentially you need a program to be able to edit these documents. If you're using local, if you select local, I think you need to select what your default application probably is local. So we've got some Word documents, we've got some Open Office documents here. We've got a few different applications. I think locally you need to select which is a default. Yeah,
I think that would be based on your machine settings. It wouldn't be based on any settings that you put into Bitrix. So whatever your default editor tool is for a Word document, it would just open up in there. But it is important to know that if you don't have the desktop application logged into and open, and you have the settings set to as local, then it will download the document. As long as you've got the permissions to download it to your local machine. It won't open up any specific.
Yeah, sure. So if we go into a work group, let's go into here, go into the drive. Then there are some settings inside the drive. So it says connect to drive. So, but this one's not connected to my drive. So any documents that are connected to your drive will sync with your local machine, although that has been changed, I think, recently. So there's been some developments on that. But essentially, the way it worked until recently is if you connect that to your drive, then all the documents in your drive will sync to your local machine. So that's the setting that you need to check. Got a question here about reporting on projects. So what sort of detail can we see on project reports? So we'll look at that. So if you want to report on projects, you go into tasks. We have a number of different ways of viewing where you are with each project. So firstly, I guess in the list view on all the tasks, I can see my projects here. I can see the tasks that sit within those projects, and I can see clearly which ones are overdue. This one that's in red is overdue. So we can also display the deadline dates over here. So if you want to see a report line by line, this is how to view that. We can see this in a Gantt chart view. So I can see the same information. Top one is overdue. The rest are all behind ahead of their deadline date. There are then a number of different ways. Let's just have a quick look through some of these. So we can view our tasks as a Kanban view, and I can change stage of these tasks. If I move these across these stages, then it actually let me think, it actually changes that let's check that, change to in progress. Yeah, it changes that to in progress. It actually changes the stage. So you have inside the work groups, you can look at, you have a page called My Planner, which looks like a Kanban. You can change the descriptions at the top of these columns, and you can move tasks between different columns, and that's just for your own view. But in the actual Kanban, then these changes are reflected to all users. And then we've got a few different reports across the top. Involvement really helps you just see who's involved with which tasks.
I think that's quite good for resourcing, isn't it? Because for your planning, you can see when your employees are booked out on specific tasks. So we're looking at quite a high level on a month by month, but we can zoom in and see when a particular. So you can see, for example, Claire Smith is busy from the 23rd, booked out. So you can see when.
Yeah, I can open the tasks on this page as well. If we click into projects, then you can see, we've just got 2 on here, but I can see projects and a summary page of how many tasks within the projects are completed and how many are outstanding. An indicator of what our performance is based on tasks completed on time. That's probably in terms of a project page, that's probably quite good.
Just had a question just with going back to the Gantt chart. What indicates the slim blue line in a Gantt chart view?
Let's have a look. So that is project in progress.
Yeah, so I think if you go to the filter, in progress.
So yeah, let's have a look at this then. So red line is deadline. So if you put a deadline inside a task, you'll see a red line here. Of course, the wide blue line is indicates the start date, and you can see that's in blue by default. Goes red if it's over the deadline. The thin blue line indicates whether the task has actually been started itself. So the difference in the start date and the task being started. So you can set, if we open up a task, you can set a start and an end date. But let's look at this. If we defer this task, not defer it. If we finish this task. Then we won't see any blue line. If then resume, start this task, then over time we've zoomed in here, so we can't see this. We only just done it today, but over time we'll start to see a thin blue line in the middle. So essentially means it shows you when it was started and up to the current date if it's still in progress. So yeah, going through these, we've got an efficiency report. We don't have a lot of data in that one, but that gives us an indication of total tasks complete, total tasks outstanding, and this efficiency percentage as well. You can create custom reports as well within Bitrix. So we have a report here. It shows us time spent on projects, so I can see by individual task here just how much time we have spent on those, and then we can see graphically at the top, and then we can see, if you want to see it line by line, individual, and a total at the bottom. So you can edit, if you have permission, you can edit any of these reports. Allows me to report by date range, change by date range. Let's just apply this so we've got a bit more information. And we can edit, we can edit that report. I think that's it in terms of you've got these kind of four or five different task dashboards, and then you've got custom reports which you can create. I think there's some standard reports shipped with Bitrix, and then you can create your custom ones.
Just had a question about do you have any information when certification for developers will be available in English language? We don't have that information here. You probably would need to contact Bitrix themselves to see when that would be released. I mean, there is quite a lot of tutorials and documentation with regards to the API on the Bitrix website, and that's all in English. Maybe that we'll put our contact details up on the screen towards the end. It may be that you just drop us a line, and if you're wanting something specific that you're developing or want to know, then we have in-house developers who may be able to help. So
yeah, I've got a question here about MailChimp. Well, in fact, we're looking at choosing MailChimp for marketing emails. Is there a way to integrate this into Bitrix, or are there other alternatives I can use for marketing emails which integrate with Bitrix? So I think Bitrix includes that feature now. So let's have a look at applications first and check the integration with MailChimp. Pretty sure there is an app in the marketplace that allows you to do that. What do we call it? CRM lead generation. Let's have a look, see if we can search it in here. Used to be MailChimp. So we do have, there is a third-party app for MailChimp integration. The only thing I know about MailChimp is that it restricts some of the data that it allows you to, that is available on their API. So I don't think you can get all the analytics and report information out of MailChimp to view that in Bitrix. So guessing this app will show you as much information, deliver as much information as possible. The alternative to that is really use Bitrix.
Much better alternative.
CRM marketing, and is expert on this.
So with regards to the CRM marketing inside Bitrix, if you're relatively new to Bitrix, you can do a number of different types of campaigns. So you can obviously email campaign, which is what we're talking about with regards to MailChimp. So you would use the internal email campaign tool. And the good thing about that is that, number one, you don't have to go to a third-party application, it's inside Bitrix already. And number two, that it integrates with your CRM. So if you need to create your own mailing lists, you don't need to export and import into another application. This integrates seamlessly between the CRM marketing tool and the CRM itself. So you can create filtered lists, Bitrix calls them segments, to email out to. So whether that's new leads that have come into the system, or you've got a set range of different contact types in your CRM, you could group those together and send out a specific mail campaign. And it is really straightforward and simple. MailChimp, as you mentioned, offers templates, but so does Bitrix. Bitrix offers quite a range of different templates, and once you've created a specific template, you can actually save it to use again, pretty much like what you can do in MailChimp as well. You can import your own custom HTML, or if you are going to be using one of the preset templates, then it's just a simple drag and drop tool that you can bring in, click on the pencil icon and edit it how you want. And you can use tags, so you can use information that are within these CRM contacts or leads internally, so each email is dynamic. And again, it's integrating with the CRM so well that you don't need to use any other application really. And it's got all the features that a normal emailing campaign would. You can schedule, you can send it now, or you can manually send it later. So I certainly would recommend having a test of this and having a play around. If you do want to use SMS, then where Damien was a moment ago in applications, you just need to connect one of the SMS providers. And if you need to use the voice broadcasting, you would need to use Bitrix telephony. So that would then dial out and have automated calls to Bitrix telephony as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think lower price, probably more feature rich than MailChimp, built into your Bitrix. So
yeah, I think if you're using the free cloud, I think it's up to 5,000 emails a month you can send. I think that may be exactly the same as what MailChimp is. If you, in fact, I think Mailchimp is 2,500 a month, so Bitrix beats that by 2.5. If you go to the professional package, you can send 1 million emails out each month.
And Bitrix announced recently that their spam score is exactly the same as Mailchimp, so there's no point sending out 1 million emails a month if they don't get through the spam filters. But the success rate is the same as you would get with Mailchimp, so there's no reason why not to use Bitrix over Mailchimp now. Okay. Can users of workgroups receive email notifications? So there's different notifications on a workgroup wide basis. Oh yes, you go into here, you can. So this little bell icon is selected. If I deselect it, then I'll no longer receive notifications. We'll have a look at the notification center itself in a minute, but that's where you deselect. I think by default you'll be receiving notifications. If you don't need to receive them, you can deselect them there. So look into tasks. So you'll receive notifications from a work group, but most of those notifications are probably going to be around updates on tasks and things. Can we change? You can't turn on and off notifications for individual tasks. So what you need to do is go into your notification center. So top right hand corner in the bell there, you can see all your notifications come through, and you can configure inside here how you receive those notifications. So I think we do. This one's on. We're on Do Not Disturb for some reason. You can change your setting down there. If you go into notifications, settings, then in here we can choose simply simple mode to choose push notifications onto your mobile app, email and website, pop-up notifications inside the application itself. That's across the board. If you want to then just we're talking about notifications in workgroups and tasks really. Let's just scroll down and see what settings there are. So calendars, open channels, CRM. So social network, that's a work group. Fortunately, you have to go to the top to see application, email and push notifications are on your mobile phone. So scroll back down again. So we've got a few different settings within a workgroup that you can choose from. Workgroup invitations and member requests, group membership change, you were assigned or unassigned as a workgroup, moderator, workgroup owner changes, workgroup updates. So maybe you want to receive workgroup updates. You can choose to deselect any of these or select any of these. Probably tasks is going to be where you're getting most of your notifications. So new comment added to task. So this is the thing that generates quite a lot of notifications for some people. You might choose that you want to deselect those. Task reminder. So a reminder if a task is over its deadline date, when a task was created or when somebody's changed a task. That's not added a comment, but changed the description and the body of the task. Actually edited the task and resaved it. Or a task has been assigned to you. So I think tasks are often assigned to one person who can do their part, and then assigned on to somebody else. So you're probably going to need to know when somebody's assigned a task to you. So you probably want to leave that checked. Of course, you can deselect email if you're working in the system. If you're working on a screen all day, you probably don't need to receive emails every time something's assigned to you. So you can deselect email and keep the other two on. So
yeah, I mean, in terms of the email, if you just mentioned that though, if you are logged into the system, you don't receive an email.
Oh, all right.
If you are logged into the system, you won't receive an email on everything. It's basically the first thing that will happen is you'll get notified on Bitrix if you are logged in, and that will not send an email. It's only when you're not logged into the system you'll get an email. So you're not always bombarded with emails from Bitrix.
Okay, that's pretty good then. That's why I don't get emails. If we've got see if we've got any more questions.
We just had a question about sending a large amount of emails each month. Would you have the self-hosted version of Bitrix? I think in that, I mean, you are sending quite a lot of emails there. I think with regards to sending that amount, I would probably, you can specify who your sender is from Bitrix CRM marketing. So it may be that you would need to set up a standalone email service for your email marketing. Sending that amount of emails, you don't really want to get blacklisted emails. So yeah, I think it would take some looking into. I'm not sure if some email service providers are specifically for that volume of emails. But on the self-hosted, I would have thought it would have been possible to use your own email service too.
There's different options on the self-hosted around email services. So it's a whole different sort of subject area, I guess. Okay, can I get Bitrix on my own URL, and is it possible to add my own branding? So you can do both of those things if you're on a professional package or in a self-hosted package. So on the top end, on the professional, you can choose to replace the long string .bitrix24.com with your own domain name. Sometimes a subdomain, something like portal.yourcompany.com, that sort of thing. Especially if you're inviting in third parties, customers, then that's worth doing. You can add your logo in here. So really there isn't any Bitrix branding within the site. There's a link at the bottom to Bitrix and support and things, but other than that, very unbranded. Of course, the login page is a Bitrix login page. You go to the Bitrix network page where you have to log in. You can't remove that. If you're on the self-hosted, you can do a bit more. You can still do change the domain. You can change your logo, and you can actually change the login page. So you can remove that Bitrix front page and have your own, designed login page. You can actually, I think, also, have a little username and password fields embedded onto your website somewhere in the footer of your website. Log into our portal here or something like that. So that sort of thing can take you straight in, or take a user straight into Bitrix. So I mean, the self-hosted is a really, really good tool if you are looking to create a portal for customers or suppliers that you want to brand up yourself. You can certainly you can change colours of choose some of the CSS to change these colours of the headers and backgrounds and things like that. But really, there's not like other systems, not lots of branding, Bitrix branding within the site. You can't see any on this page or any of the pages really. So you can add on most packages you can add considerable amount of your own branding to the site.
Got a question: can you log in using different OpenID login providers? Google, Twitter, Facebook, Windows Live. Yeah, you certainly can on the self-hosted version. If we go to some of in the control panel, we've got some integration tools with. Let's have a look. I'm just going to settings.
I think I'm pretty sure on the cloud you can certainly log in with your Google account.
Yeah,
Facebook.
I mean, those are the external services that connect to Bitrix. So you can certainly log in using Google, Twitter, Facebook. So yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay, let's just put up some contact details there. So we are Bitrix24 partners. We're based in the UK. We have offices in the US and Dubai, and we can provide a demo, and we can provide implementation supports and training and customization, and we can provide ongoing. We have a telephone support service, and we provide ongoing sort of training sessions and customization. So the whole sort of support implementation package. So get in touch if you've got any requirements at all that not able to handle in-house, or if you want to discuss which edition of Bitrix might be right for your business.
Yes, certainly. So we're here every Thursday at 10 AM Eastern time, and you'll get notified if you subscribe to the Bitrix24 channel when we come live on Bitrix. And if you've got any questions in the meantime and you want them answered next week, please email us to live@intraface.com, and we can start off like we did today with some predefined questions, and we can answer them straight away for you next week.
Okay, thanks for your time. See you next week.
Yep, see you next week.